Welcome everyone again to this week's Mayors and Supervisors Update. I'm Chris Carosa, publisher of the Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel. And this week we are featuring three superstars, mayors and supervisors. Yay! Let's start out with Rick Milne, mayor of the village of Honeoye Falls. What's new and happening in Honeoye Falls, Rick?
It's great to see everybody, and I'm sorry for my casual appearance, but I am out of town this weekend and on a work weekend. So I'm in the woods, and I'm actually sitting on an ATV in the middle of the woods on Zoom. It's pretty amazing. But Honeoye Falls, we continue to continue on. Things continue to be different, even though we're used to it now. But we're doing well. Business at the village office is going very well. People are being very respectful overall of our mask requirements and social distance, etc. And our meetings have generally gone over very well. I will say we did have a little bit of a concern at our last village board meeting. We do require masks entering into the building, whether it be the village hall or up at the community center. And we had an individual that did not want to put on a mask coming in. We understand everyone's rights, but that is private property, if you will. And while the public is invited, they do need to follow our guidelines. So we will be enforcing that moving forward. We don't want to be in that situation, but we will have security at our next meeting, actually. And if you're not wearing a mask, you will not be able to enter the building. We just feel that's the right thing to do. So we are going to enforce that. As we know, we had our last Good Vibes Flowing concert a couple weeks ago. It went very well. I did get a comment from one resident who sent me a letter. They did not sign their name. They just said a village resident. But they had supposedly come to the concert and said that there were a lot of people that were not wearing masks, etc. And so, they left, and they felt that people weren't observing that protocol as well as they should have. But quite honestly, I would disagree. There were certainly people without masks on, but most of the people I saw walking around from their seat to get food or whatever did put a mask on. So, you're not going to have complete control over it, but we think people are doing pretty well overall. Our businesses that, as we all know, we continue to struggle. We've had a couple businesses close, but we have some good things going on as well. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position to, get into too much detail, but we do have some buildings that are currently vacant that are being very actively looked at. And there's a couple of exciting, I think a couple of exciting businesses that could be coming to the village in the not too distant future. And I say that, anything takes a period of time, but we're excited that people are looking again. And so that's been good. We're just getting in to our budget process. I know we've all been talking about that over the last few weeks. So our village administrator, Brian Anderson, is really starting to get into in-depth conversations with our different departments, and our village office staff, and myself and Brian and the village trustees will be, starting to talk in depth about our budget for the upcoming year. So those are really the things that are going on. We're looking forward to this fall weather coming up, and we are certainly supporting people going out and getting their flu shots and keeping their social distancing practices strong, so that we don't take a big step back. And we know that's been a concern really even across New York State now, certainly downstate, but in some of the college areas, et cetera, that some of those numbers seem to be ticking upwards. And we want to do everything we can to not allow that to happen. So we just ask people to please keep wearing the masks and just socially distance as best you can.
One follow-up, Rick, on the idea of going to a meeting without a mask. Do people have an option to see the meetings via Zoom? I know that the community center doesn't have that set up, but what about the village hall?
Yeah, the village hall, we were using a program called Big Blue Button.
Mhm.
If we go back to the village hall in the next couple months, we will most likely use that. Our next meeting will actually be at the ambulance base on October 19th. The community center was not available at that time for our meeting, so we are going to go to the ambulance base, and because of that, it's even more important that people practice the protocols. That meeting at this point in time will not be available via Zoom or Big Blue Button. That may change, and we'll certainly let people know if that's the case. But I think we're going to go to some type of online practice moving forward, because there are a lot of people that would like to watch a meeting or jump on a meeting, but from their home. So we're
Right.
probably going to do that moving forward.
Makes sense. All right. Thanks there, Rick. John Moffett, supervisor of the town of Mendon. What's happening in the town of Mendon?
Well, I'm going to kind of continue part of Rick's conversation there, was that we don't have internet services at the community center. We're taking a look at that as far as what the costs would be, and if we put a camera or cameras and microphones in there, what kind of costs that would involve. Because I do think that with this current situation with COVID, and the fact that a lot of people are used to getting information off the computer via various sources, I think it would be a good idea for us to be able to provide that. And what I'd like to do is archive the meetings on our website, so that people could say, I want to know what happened at the planning board meeting in June of 2012 or something like that. And we'd be able to provide that going forward. So that is something we're working on. But I did want to talk today a little bit, because Mayor Milne and myself were on a Zoom call with the county executive and supervisors and mayors from Monroe County for shared services. So I did want to talk a little bit about that today, because these are some of the things that people just quite frankly don't realize. Is that, for instance, at the town hall, which most people know where it is, across from the post office, the Village of Honeoye Falls mows the lawn here, because there's a great deal of property by the creek that is village property that they mow anyway. So they mow that. That's one of our shared services. Another one of our shared services is snow removal from the sidewalks at the Mendon Public Library. So the village is already plowing sidewalks in the village. For us to put a piece of equipment on a trailer, bring it over to the library, plow the very limited amount of sidewalks at the library would just take a lot of time in a snow event. So that's another thing that the village does for us. And at the town end of things, we provided water at town hall from an exterior spigot for the flowers. And we've also utilized the town's dispatchers. So in the wintertime, we have dispatchers on 24/7, including the weekends. So they call out the highway personnel when there's a snow event. So the dispatchers, which are working for the town of Mendon, not only do they call out the town of Mendon employees, but they also call out the village DPW workers. So that's a savings that we work together on. And also we accept all the brush at the Mendon Town Hall that the village collects at various times of the year, and then we hire a grinding company to come in and grind it, which we share the costs on the grinding of that. We also, here at Town Hall, the handicap parking spots actually belong to the town. So when the village plows out the parking lot, they're again across from the post office. That parking lot, even though it's next to Town Hall, it's a village parking lot. And the village plows out those handicap parking spots. So we do a lot for each other. There isn't any necessarily funding going back and forth, but just things that make sense. For instance, like the sidewalk we put up on Quaker Meeting House Road next to the middle school. Same thing, the school plows that sidewalk for us. So we have a lot of these intermunicipal agreements with the Village of Honeoye Falls, the recreation program that we work together with the school, the village and town of Lima and West Bloomfield. That's another thing that falls under shared services. We're not exchanging money between ourselves, but we are doing things for each other that make sense and are cost savings for all of our residents. So that is something that we've done. We continue to look at those things going forward to provide the best possible services, most bang for the buck. So thank you.
All right. That's pretty good. That's a lot of good information there, John. So Jerry, Rush.
The best kept secret in Western New York.
There we go. All
And
right. What else is going on?
I was at that meeting also that that John just referred to. And the excitement that I came away with, in addition to the proposed shared services, was the county executive asked us to respond to him with COVID-related expenses. I don't want to get my hopes up, but anytime someone talks about, let's see what we can do if you provide us with the costs you've incurred, I get excited because who knows what the future might bring. So I'm excited about that, especially just after producing our tentative budget. We had to take a couple of somewhat serious measures to make everything work. Our taxes are going to remain flat, which is a good thing. We're in the process of getting our 15-year leaking library roof fixed, and that's exciting because I won't have to be embarrassed by that any longer. And other than that, things are wonderful in downtown Rush. We're wondering if this uptick in the COVID is going to bother us, me being a member of the most vulnerable group. I don't like the thoughts of it coming back in my direction, and let's hope it doesn't.
I agree 100%.
Yeah,
Well, thank you all very much. Oh, you have anything else there, Jerry?
I'm all done.
You're all done. All right. Anybody else got anything? No? Well, thank you all for listening to this version. Again, the mayors and supervisors who aren't here for the live broadcast have submitted information that will appear in print in this week's paper. Come back next week because we hope to begin to explore some ideas on how to prepare for Halloween this year. We've already had some press releases from the government come out, but we'll want to see what our local mayors and supervisors have to say about that. So with that, thank you all for listening and watching, and we'll see you all next Sunday at 1 o'clock Facebook time, 1:15 YouTube time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.